Party people, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am making a layout in my Heidi Swapp Storyline Chapters book using a stamp set from Everyday Explorers Co. that is releasing with the September releases. This stamp set is called Thoughts on Today, and it's all about documenting what's on the news. It's a pretty versatile stamp set, but a lot of the things are about like what's in the headlines and have you seen this? And I thought it was the perfect stamp set to document my article. If you don't know, I was interviewed for an article in the New York Times about scrapbooking and about how scrapbooking is a radical act of self-care. And so I thought this stamp set would be the perfect one for documenting this article. So I'm documenting it in my Storyline Chapters book that is serving as how I'm just documenting the season right now. It started out as my Quarantine Chronicles. It is now just a currently book. So everything that is happening right now is going in this book. And so right here, I am just die cutting some papers. I pulled out my 6x8 all heart pad. This was a crepe paper line that sold out super quickly. And I decided to just die cut some tags. Using tags in this Storyline Chapters book is one of my favorite way to get different shapes because it doesn't add a lot of bulk. That is my main concern with this book, is making sure that it is not too bulky in the long run. So I die cut some tags, and I also did some ripped paper edges because that's my jam. You guys know I love a good distressed edge. So I have 4 3x4 photos on the left side of the page, and then I have a 5x7 photo on the right side. And then I actually typed my journaling and printed it out on a bit of Nina cardstock because I wanted to make sure that I got exactly what I wanted to say down on the paper. Sometimes when I handwrite things, I miss things because you can't like edit yourself while you're handwriting, and my handwritten journaling tends to be stream of consciousness journaling, and I wanted to make sure that I got exactly what I wanted to say about this down on the page. So I chose to type my journaling and cut it down so it fits, and then I just distressed the edges of my journaling piece and then added a little bit of ripped pattern paper to the bottom, and that's just my way of integrating the journaling into the design so it's not just kind of an afterthought, right? So right now I'm literally just building the design of my page. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put those tags. I'm ripping a bunch of pieces of paper. That is like my jam when it comes to my scrapbooking. I love a distressed edge. I am punching holes in my tags. Now I used the nested tag die from scrapbook.com. I will link everything in the description box. It is my favorite thing. And I also use my Sizzix Sidekick. Because I use a lot of the small tags in my scrapbooking, I can fit those small tags in my Sizzix Sidekick, so I don't have to pull out my big shot and put it on my desk all the time. So that's why you always see my tiny little die cutting machine. Honestly, if you're looking for a way to get into die cutting and you don't want to invest the $100 or $100 plus that a full-size die cutting machine costs, highly recommend you look at the Sizzix Sidekick, because if you're just going to be die cutting like tags and maybe alphas and smaller shapes, the Sidekick is the way to go, and it is not a huge investment. I use mine all the time. I almost never pull out my big shot these days because it's just so big. So that's how I cut out my tags. And I will link my Sidekick and the nested tag dies in the description box. But now we're here for the stamping, which is what you guys came here for, right? Like, I hope you came here for the stamping because this video is all about the stamping. So the stamping is kind of the important part. So I'm using my Sizzix Stamper's Secret Weapon. This thing has just been a game changer in my craft room. I don't stamp without it. Like, if I'm stamping, I'm either stamping on my Misty or I'm stamping on this platform. My stamps used to skip all the time. I used to just struggle. And the second I added this thing to my craft area, my stamping's just been so much better. So if you're having some trouble with stamping, highly recommend you look into picking this up. You can find it on Amazon, on scrapbook.com, literally everywhere. So I'm stamping using the Concord and 9th dye inks, and you guys have seen these from me fairly often. They're just my favorite inks right now. I love my scrapbook.com hybrid inks, don't get me wrong. Love those inks. But I really like the color palette for the Concord and 9th inks, and because they're new and they're on my desk all the time, I just keep reaching for them. They're a really, really good dye ink. So if you're looking for an ink line, the color range is amazing. There's a few colors that I feel like, you know, they're missing. Like, they don't have a cool toned, like, hot pink, like a fuchsia color. There are a few colors in here where I'm like, this would be great if they had it. But it's a great line if you're getting into stamping and you don't know where to start. This is a great line to start with. And they have the ink cubes. So that's my Concord and 9th spiel because I just really like these inks. But now I'm stamping some tags. So on that first tag, I stamped a gray piece that said, here's what happened, official documentation, and then I added a green arrow that said this. I am using mushroom, evergreen, and sorbet for my stamp colors this time. And then on this tag that I'm stamping right now, first I stamped, have you seen this? Then I stamped today's headline, and above it I stamped a circle that said, best thing ever, this was the best thing I've seen today, which just fit perfectly for the story that I'm telling. Now this stamp set does have like not so greatest thing ever headlines, like it says things like crazy and stuff, because, you know, life is kind of crazy. And there's also like little circles that said favorite meme, favorite video, favorite post. So you don't necessarily have to document what's in the news in this stamp set. It's just a really like versatile one. So I've stamped my 2 tags. You see them off to the top right of my screen. And now I'm layering my 4 photos on the left side of the page, kind of like offset, stacking them over top each other. I like that they each have a little bit of torn edge from the paper that I used. I picked 3 papers, and I just repeated those 3 papers across the layout. And now I'm sticking down my tags. So I cut the larger size tag out of the pattern paper, and then I cut smaller tags out of white cardstock. I'm just using Nina cardstock, and I actually used the scraps of the same piece of cardstock that I printed my journaling on. So I printed my journaling in Photoshop so I could size it down perfectly, and then all the like extra bit from that 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, that's what I die cut my tags out of, because we don't waste anything here. We use every scrap of paper. All right, so now you see I put my second tag on the other side with my photo, and I think right around here is when I decide I want a third tag. So there's a little bit of space in that line. I wish I had used a different color pen, you guys, in hindsight. I thought the pen that I used was a deeper green, and it turned out to be more of a teal color, so it doesn't really match, but it's not the end of the world, and I was not going to go back and like try to write over it and ruin it, so I left the funky green, the teal color, but I honestly wish I had used a different pen. And now I'm trying to decide if I want a third tag. So I do want a third tag because I like to do things in 3s, and also I have that extra space in the top left corner where those photos were. So I just decided to go with the third tag, and there were like 5 small-ish stamp sets that were about the same width. So I decided to layer those on this tag. So I stamped, here's some good news. This was so crazy. Well, that escalated quickly, and isn't that the truth? And then I stamped, is this real life? Which also is that the truth, because my face is in the New York Times. Like, is this real life? That escalated quickly. Those all were perfect sentiments for how I was feeling about this article. So again, repeating the same colors, that gray, that green, and that coral. And this is where I was like, a hot pink would have worked out perfectly. And don't get me wrong, I have other hot pink inks. I could have pulled out another ink from my stash, but I was just being really lazy. So I stuck to the same color scheme that I already had on my desk. And I have my third tag. So we're pulling my book back out, and I'm just sticking those down to my background. Now, I'm not going to read my journaling because it's really long, but I will tell you a little bit about the story that I wrote. I was channeling Alexander Hamilton and doing, honestly, guys, if you haven't heard the Hamilton soundtrack, stop everything you're doing right now and go listen to it. But I was channeling my inner Alexander Hamilton and doing some writing about my legacy and the stories that you leave behind. And then I was just writing that I was really glad that, you know, if people ever asked what Tashi did with her life and what kind of stories Tashi told, Tashi stood up for what was right. And so that was what the article was about. The article was about how representation matters, and how scrapbooking is like vital for all communities, not just for what we perceive, you know, who we perceive scrapbooking to be for. So if anybody ever asks in the future, you know, what Tashi did with her life, what kind of stories Tashi told, I'll read you the last sentence because it is very long and I don't have time to read you all of it. But the last sentence says, I hope it inspires them to write their stories down and to leave it behind for others. And even if no one else reads these notes we are covering paper and photos with, living this life as authentically as we know how is its own reward. These are the stories I hope to leave behind, and I am so glad this article stands to be part of my legacy. So I just did some journaling about what the article was about, what it meant to me, and how glad I am that, you know, that it was out in the universe. So many people have reached out to me since this article went out about scrapbooking, about how to get into it, and that was my end game, to get more people telling their story and to get more people living and documenting an authentic life. So that's all I did some journaling about. Now I'm adding some puffy stickers. I had my Feed Your Craft puffy sticker stash is wild. It's my like favorite line to get puffy stickers from. So I'm just pulling out my Feed Your Craft puffy stickers. I like these because you can typically find any color you need from this color palette. So first I added some stars to the bottom. I also added some flowers that I had. I think these are like Maggie Home flowers that I had sitting around. So I added some flowers, and then I'm adding some puffy stickers on all the tags. Again, just doing things in threes. This is like my formula. So if I do something once, I tend to repeat it. Doing things in threes is always the best. So I'm adding a few sets of puffy stickers, and that's going to complete this layout. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're so inclined. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and don't forget to head over to the Everyday Explorers Co. shop to shop this release and pick up this stamp set for your own. I have an affiliate link linked in the description box, so if you choose to shop there and support me, that would make my whole day and mean the world. So again, that's all I have for you today, guys. Feel free to click on a video and keep watching, but till next time, keep your crafting and have the very best day, and I will see you around. Bye!